all of a sudden you're just living through. Interesting religious experiences will do that. You say, wait, I knew this all along. I could feel this deep down in the back of my mind. My intuition told me this is how it really is. And then you just needed to, have the egotistical mind just, take a nap for a while.
Yeah.
So there's so many, in Eastern religion, they used to view these as just the normal way a person is, all these powers.
When we get back, I want to tell you the most fascinating thing about Daniel Tammet. Hold on. Okay, I've been waiting through that break to launch into Daniel Tammet. Folks, you can check out about 3 or 4 of the video links I have on this young man. Most fascinating person alive, maybe in the history of humanity, as I see it. And you can do so at bigjohnlipscomb.blogspot.com. I was just talking about how they take this young man and they'll drop him off into a new area with a different language, and they give him a few days to a week to learn a language, and he will pick it up and speak it fluently from that time on. I don't know how many languages he actually is able to speak at this time, but I think it's probably over a dozen. But that is not the aspect to him that is mind-boggling. This young man, Jeffrey, he is able to do calculations, okay, that other math savants are unable to do, let alone, geniuses. He's way beyond the human calculator. Now, in doing they would say things like this. Okay, Daniel, and these were 2 mathematicians from India that he went over there, and they studied him for a week. And he's just an average-looking young man, and he sits down and they said, okay, what is 37 to the 6th power, right? And they just continue to do these sorts of math, and it only takes him a little while, and then to come up with the correct answer every time. But then they would go to things like, what is, 12,208,334 times 1,600,000, and these astronomical numbers. And he will sit there and just kind of like he's in a daydream. And after a minute or two, he will give them the answer. And he is never wrong. However, he does not do what all other young people that are brought up to be human calculators do. And they show this by going to Japan or China, and they show these young students at the age of 6 and 10 years old that are human calculators, and so they sit in this classroom and they're given very difficult math problems, and they take few seconds and they come up with answers. It's an amazing feat, but it's completely different, because listen to this, folks. What Daniel Tammet does is you give him a number, and he sees the exact shape in reality that is represented by that number. For instance, when he is walking down the street, buildings, roads, everything those shapes represent numbers to him. He sees shapes and numbers, and when you give him numbers, he sees shapes. And so what they did to test him on this ability is, for one day, they just gave him random numbers. and they filmed and photographed the shapes that he made out of Play-Doh. And he would say, okay, 1034 it's this shape. And they didn't tell him they were going to do this, but the next day, and they do 800 numbers. The next day they ask him a bunch of more random numbers, but they throw in dozens of the ones from the previous day, and he always makes the same exact shape for it. And what he then discusses, it just blows these mathematicians' mind. He says he draws on a paper what happens, and they give him a number, and he sees a shape, a two-dimensional shape, or kind of a three-dimensional shape. On the left side, they give him another number, and he sees there's a space between them. He sees another shape on the right side, and then he focuses on the middle, and the shape that happens between them is the answer. He then converts that shape into its proper number and rattles that off. What do you think of that?
Oh, boy. Well, one thing, let me just say one sentence about one thing and then immediately go to a different topic. I mean, how much does this start to sound like last night showing the metaphysical base of numerology and reality?
Right. That's what I was thinking. This is exactly, it's the fractal holographic matrix consciousness, and he is seeing it. He's seeing the matrix beyond the veil. It is shocking, folks. You have to watch these series of videos. They'll change your perspective and maybe your life. It's an amazing thing. So,
well, yeah, he could go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, he could just be showing us, again, our horrible academics, to put it humorously, want us to think that there's just, one kind of thinking, and it's kind of like, it's a computational thinking. It's like a computer. I mean, how, unoriginal can you get? They used to think the universe was like a clock when the clock was invented. Now they think it's like a computer because the computer's invented. I mean, come on. But this guy could be showing us just whole different cognitive, whole different ways of thinking that exist out there, and that are, maybe our minds are. I mean, I hold that telepathy is just a basic, fundamental thing of all human activity, even though we don't notice it. I mean, you wonder, can he pump this into us, and how susceptible are we to it? If this
that's what these mathematicians from India were wondering. They're saying he is going to lead us to the new revolution, not in math or anything, but in the new revolution of humanity, because we all would have this ability at some level. Listen, folks, one other thing. I've got a minute left in this segment. They give him, he has a fascination with pi. Now, of course, pi is incredible, right? But when he thinks of pi, he sees this incredible mountainous landscape. And he has been there in the conscious level seeing this landscape of pi that represents pi visually so often that he knows every dip and hump and crevice. And what the mathematician did, one of them, is they played a little joke on him. And what they did is they gave him pi, but they inserted some of the wrong numbers. And as he went through, he started seeing it different. And it upset him, and they had him monitored, and they could tell that he was emotionally attached to the number pi. Just a fascinating video. You must watch it. We'll be back. Another miraculous person, and actually there's several families that have this ability, but they're magnetic people. And I don't mean their charisma, folks. I mean they can put sledgehammers on them, and they'll stick forks, knives, plates, all sorts of heavy objects, numerous objects all over their body, and they just stick like a magnet. And there's one scientist was testing this gentleman from Japan who's called the Magnetic Man of Japan, and he